Good evening, everybody. I hope that you can hear me loud and clear. You can. Okay, that's good. So last week I did discuss. Last week we did discuss the watch list, how to read your charts, and also the additional advisors. And I went into a bit of buying share. So if we have time tonight, we will continue on the shares. But tonight I am going to show you the share filter, how to use the share filter, and your watch list again, and also the charts. So first of all, we click on analysis. Then we click on stocks. Okay, we're just giving it time to load. Okay, now it's loaded. So let's quickly go to your watch list. So if I click on watch list, so you have your my stocks and watch list. On the one side, you have your stocks. Your stocks is shares that you bought already. Your watch list is shares that we want to keep our eye on, because they are not quite yet at a buying point. So you would see that currently I am keeping my eye on BIT, BTI, CLS, DRB, and HAR. From there on, I can go to the dustbin to delete the share, in other words, to remove it from my watch list, or I can go to action on that little info button there. And if I click on it, I can buy the share here, or I can go to my chart IQ. We'll get to the charts now. So I said close. Now I'm closing this one again. And then we are going to go to our share folder. So if we get to our share folder, your share folder enables you to search out shares within a specific range. So if we look here, we have our all shares. So your all shares, meaning this is all the shares on the JSE currently that is active. Your next one is your winning shares list. Your winning shares list is set it up by our guru Mox. You guys may know her from the webinars she does every Tuesday and Thursday. So this is her list of winning shares that she says can determine long-term good growth for us. The next one we have is our top 40. Top 40 is your 40 biggest companies on the JSE, also known as our blue chip shares. Next, we have our mid-cap shares. Mid-cap shares refers to shares ranging from 10 Rand up until 300 Rand a share. Then you have your broker forecast. That is what the brokers say that share will do within the next 3 years. Then you have your watch list. Okay, I can also keep my eye on my watch list underneath my share filter. But the reason we don't want to do that is, let's say I want to remove a share. I cannot do it under the share filter. That's why we use the My Stocks and Watch List. You have your ETFs, your futures and options, your share performances, your unit trusts, and your stop losses. So ETFs and unit trusts, that's not really things we do, okay? We are not focused on buying into multiple or in a category, if I can put it like that. Let's say, for example, we don't want to go and buy into the top 40. We want to go and buy a specific share underneath the top 40. For example, let's say process. We want to buy that share. We don't want to buy shares into the top 40, the name. So that's why we don't do that. Then you have your stop losses. So more or less a recommendation of where you can put your stop loss. If I look here, selected share filter, all. So if I click on winning shares list now, it will change it. You see it says winning shares list. And I can also change it back at a later stage. Then I have reset filters and save filtering and share filter example. So let me start at reset filters. In other words, let's say I type in a specific code or a specific name or sector. The easiest way to clear it is by clicking on the reset filters, and it restores it to its original screen. If I click on save filtering, the next one, you will see that I have 3 values in there. As soon as I inserted my 3 values, I click on save filtering and it saves that for me, so that every time when I log in, it remains there. The next one we have is the share filter example. So let's click on the share filter example. And now you will see it says traded value greater than 200,000. Date change percentage delayed greater than 0. Percentage change from highest greater than -15. Then you will also see a T1, a T2, and a T3. Underneath each one of them, you will see there's either a buy, a sell, or a hold. Next to it, the possibility. In other words, if something on your share filter says sell, 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 like the top one, it means this is more likely to be a watch list share. In other words, if we go and look at the graphs, it means that this share is busy dropping. It gives you your possible buys, your risky buys, your shares that are already too high, and then shares that are busy dropping again. Okay. I say close. Now it says, if I look at that one, shares in current holdings. So let's say, like I did, I bought CFR in that bluish code to tell us that, listen here, you already bought that share. If I look at the next one, shares on watch list, you will note that there is a yellowish orange color like clicks, because clicks is on my watch list. This is just to ensure that you don't buy a share twice without you knowing that you already bought that share, or that you don't add a share twice onto your watch list. Next, we have shares on the WSL. Shares on the WSL is winning shares list. In other words, if I look next to CFR, it has a little red asterisk, meaning that that share is one of the gurus winning shares. Okay. Let's start from the left-hand side. You have the company code, and then you have the company's name. So each company on the JSE has a 3-letter code linked to its name. You can either search out a company by code or by name. Next, we have the sector. This tells us in which sector the share is. In other words, is it a consumer goods, a basic material, a technology, financials, consumer services, telecommunications? And then you can search that specific sector to see all the shares in that sector. Next, we have our market cap, rand in millions. So your market cap is the number of shares that is still available to buy in the value of rand in millions. In other words, if I do look at a share, any specific share, it means that there is over 170. Let's take that first one there for SI. For SI has over 313 million rands worth of shares still available. Okay, market cap. Next is your traded value. Your traded value is the value that that share traded over the past month. Now, in perspective, we don't want to buy a share that doesn't have value. Okay, let's take, for example, this share. For the month, it traded 18 rand 88 cents. If I must open that graph, that share would be dead. In other words, there's not a lot of movement going on there. But take a share like ABSA, for example, there's a lot of movement going on there. Understand? So the next thing would be to filter out shares that doesn't perform well in a month's time. Now I'm going to click in that little white block underneath traded value, and I'm going to insert greater than 200,000. This ensures that I filter out the good shares and leave out bad shares. Next, you have your price EOD which is also in rands. EOD stands for end of day. So this is the share's closing price for the previous trading day. Like right now, tonight, the share closed on 78 Rand and 73 cents. Next one is our day change percentage delayed. Okay, your delay tells us that we update every 15 minutes. We are not completely live, but it's not a big crisis because most of the other platforms is also delayed. Your day change percentage, that is the movement percentage wise the share had for the day. So now I can see it went negative, ABSA for example, by 2.5%. If I look at Ankler Metal, which isn't a good example, but okay, for the day, the share went up by 4.76%. Okay, and if I take Aving Group, it had no movement for the day. So underneath day change percentage, I would insert greater than 0. Next is my percentage change from highest. So your percentage change from highest works as follows. If I take a share's highest point in history, let's take Ankler Metal for example. Ankler Metal in 2008 was around 250 Rand a share worth. Today, it closed on 44 cents. Now, if we go and think about it, why would I go and invest in Ankler Metal? Because it fell all the time since 2008 up until now. That's 12 years that this share has been falling. So I don't want to look at shares like that. Underneath my percentage change from highest, greater than minus 15. Okay. With those three values inserted, immediately I go these filters all the time. Next, I have my T1. My T1 is a 20-day moving average. My T2 is a 10-day moving average. And my T3 is a 5-day moving average. Now, you would remember earlier on, we had the share filter example that gave us the signals. Here's the signals. Now we know we want to look at a share that we can put on our watch list. Let's use Cirrus Real Estate. So I click on that. I'll wait for this to load. And then I would click on Chart IQ. We wait for it to open. Okay. Last week, I did show how to add everything, but I'll do it again this week for people who couldn't join last week's webinar. If by any chance you lost your moving average RSI and stochastic, you can always go and add it underneath studies, moving average, and I change my period to 200. and I say create. First of all, let's first talk about the moving average. So the period I changed to 200 for the reason, the longer your period, the more smoother your indication is of where the share is going. If I put in a 50-day moving average, it would more closely follow the share. So 200 is more or less a year's trading year's data, and that is the reason for the 200. If I look at my moving average, it's going up constantly ever since January this year. But if I go back, I can see that this share has been doing good ever since it was listed in 2014 there. It had a bit of a knock, but then in 2015, it started climbing all the way. And you see your moving average smooths out to show you a more constant growth. The second thing our moving average shows us, because it's an average, it gives me the average price of the share. And then it tells me whether this share is performing above or below average. Like this share is above average. We don't want to invest in a share that's below average. The reason for that being is, let's say I want to invest in 4SI. Okay, if I click there on the left hand side, that white block, and I type in 4SI and I press enter, it will now shift to 4SI. And I take out the bigger picture. You can immediately see why we don't want to invest in a share that's below its own average. Because as soon as it's below its own average, it creates a problem for us, and basically we are going to buy in and more likely be guaranteed that we are going to lose money if we invest in a share like this. That is why we are looking for a share with an upwards trend, like our serious real estate that we are busy with. I'm just busy switching back to the graph quickly. Now I saw the trend is good. I saw the shares above average, but how do I know when to buy? Now we are going to studies. I'm going to insert a RSI of 3 days and a stochastic also underneath studies, and I'm going to keep my period at 14 days. I'm going to say create. Now I have 3 graphs. The big one with my candles on it, actually telling me how the share is performing. And my RSI, in short, is my indicator. So my RSI will indicate whether it's the time to buy or the time to sell. Whereas my stochastic would confirm my buy and my selling point at the time of a cross, for example, there. Okay, if we even look at that one, we can use that as an example as well. Now you will see on the right hand side that the stochastic has a 20 line as well as a 80 line. Your RSI also has the 20 line as well as the 80 line. Your 0 to 20 area would be your buying area. The reason for that is 0 to 20, at that point, that share is at its lowest. That's why we want to buy when it's below 20. 20 to 80 would be your holding area. That is where your share is going to create its movement, whether it's going to go up or go down. 20 to 80, that's your movement. 80 to 100 tells us that this share now is at its highest currently, and that can be your choice, whether you decide to go long or short term. That can be your choice, whether you want to climb out there or whether you want to wait for the next crossing point above 80 to sell. Average is correct. My share is above moving average. My share had a bit of positive movement for the day. My RSI is going up. Yes, it's about at the 50 mark, but that's not a crisis. My stochastic crossed yesterday, and it already showed me that it's busy going up. At this point, I would buy this share. But because we don't have enough time to go through the buying process, and that we'll do in a later webinar, we are going to add this share to our watch list. Now, I'm going to go to the top, share tracker now charts. I'm going to close that tab. It brings me back to my security detail window. Now it asks me, buy shares, chart IQ, I already looked at my charts, or add to watch list. So I'm going to say, add this to my watch list. Now I must supply a reason. Why am I adding this share onto my watch list? But as you can also see, this is optional. Then I would say submit. And you would get this little button here telling you successfully added watch list entry, meaning that this share has been added to my watch list, and from there on I can keep my eye on that share. And that was it for tonight. If you guys have any questions, I am still going to stay behind, and you guys can ask me some questions and I will try and answer them to the best of my abilities. Then you guys must enjoy it again next week.